Hello, and welcome back to the third episode of Ctrl+Alt+Degree, where I am once again serving as your procrastination station of today. The space where the chaos of student life is not only normalized, but also embraced, explored, and maybe even a little appreciated. Well, today is actually my birthday. I am turning 20, and it makes me feel weird to say this on this podcast, but it's also kind of perfect because birthdays have a funny way of making you reflect on the past year. So, in the spirit of reflection and growth, I want to dive into one of the most complex and also underrated parts of university life: your social life. Not just the partying or the groups chats, but the deeper stuff, like how to balance socializing and studying, and how to make space for meaningful connections without completely derailing your academic progress. We've already talked about a lot of different things in the previous episodes, about balance in terms of productivity and efficiency, how to manage your time, how to avoid burnout, and how to build a system that works with your habits instead of against them. But today I want to talk about another part of the equation, you might even say: socializing. Let's be honest, university is weirdly structured when it comes to time. If you're living in the dorm or on your own, you suddenly have this strange illusion of quote-unquote free time. It's not actually free. It's time you should be using for class prep or studying, eating, laundry, sleeping, doing the dishes, and everything in between. But it feels like a lot of free time. No one's scheduling every hour for you anymore. And here's where it gets tricky. When students are first confronted with this weird and new kind of freedom, they tend to swing in one of two extreme directions. Either they will go full social butterfly mode, partying every night, constantly being surrounded by people and living like school is just a minding convenience in the background, or noise on their vibrant social calendar, or they isolate. They decide to buckle down and focus completely on studying and convincing themselves that they don't need social time, that it's just a distraction that keeps them away from school. I'm not here to guilt trip you in saying that one or two of them are bad. I'm just explaining how both paths can be very understandable, but can also be dangerous. Not to guilt trip you, but to keep you wary. So let me explain this with a silly analogy I made up. Remember when you were a kid and €5 felt like so much money? You'd go to the store and come back with all of the candy like you just won the lottery. Now, imagine giving that same kid enough money to buy a house. They would still buy candy, just way more of it. And why? Because they don't know what to do with that kind of freedom or responsibility. That's kind of what happens with first years. Suddenly they have this overwhelming amount of unscheduled time, and they do with it what they know. They either treat it like vacation and socialize endlessly, or they shut down in panic, try to study their way out of their guilt. But eventually, the consequences of both those things start to catch up. Maybe you bomb a test or feel totally burned out, or find yourself weirdly lonely, even though you're surrounded by people. And then the pendulum swings in the other way. Like if you told that kid, "Why'd you waste so much money on candy? You should have bought a house." And the kid responds by never buying candy again, because now candy equals bad, so no more candy. It's not the candy that is the problem, it's the lack of balance. The truth is we need both, the studying and the socializing, because we're still human and we're still pack animals. We're wired for connection. You can't just study non-stop and expect to mentally and emotionally stay healthy. But at the same time, you do need to study. University isn't exactly a casual stroll in the park. Degrees don't hand themselves out. So the goal here is to step off that wild pendulum swing, to stop flipping between no house only candy and no candy ever again. We need to stop seeing social life and academic life as enemies fighting over our time. They're not enemies, they're teammates. They need each other in order to succeed. And the way that balance looks like will be different for everyone. For example, I'm not someone who enjoys going out late to clubs or parties. I'd much rather go to a cafe and have a chill drink with friends and chat about our lives. But that's my version of social fulfillment. For someone else it might be a board game, night, or sports, dance class, or the previously mentioned party. There's absolutely no shame in anything. The key is to find what works for you, not what Instagram says a social university experience should look like. For now, let's get into the different kinds of socializing, because this is where it gets even more interesting. There's this thing that starts to happen after you have your first few months at university. You begin to combine productivity with social interactions to amp up your efficiency, like we talked about. You study with friends, you cook dinner together, you do the dishes side by side while gossiping, and that's great. It makes work feel lighter and makes everyday life more enjoyable. But there's a very important catch. That kind of socializing, let's call it social work, is not the same as real social time. It's not the same as taking a break, relaxing, and being fully present with the people around you. Social work is still work. It's easier and more fun when you're with others, but your brain is still engaged, still thinking and still doing. So we are going to split socializing into two different buckets. The aforementioned social work. You're technically still working, but with friends. Think study groups, shared projects, co-cooking or reviewing notes together. Even classes with friends might fall into this category. And the second one is social life. No school talk, no multitasking, just quality time spent with the people you enjoy, where the only goal is connection, laughter, or even just quiet companionship. But most importantly, no school. The real magic happens when you learn to include both into your week. Because if you only do social work, you risk turning every single relationship into a to-do list. But on the flip side, if you only go to relax and never work with others, you might start to associate your academic efforts with isolation. And I know, the guilt is real. That voice in your head that whispers, you should be working, when you're out for a drink or just watching a movie. Yeah, it's annoying, but there's something to remember. Rest is productive. Recharging is necessary. Relaxation is not a reward for succeeding, it's part of the process. So here's my takeaway. Make time for true, unplugged social life. The kind where not checking your syllabus in the background, where you're laughing too hard to remember deadlines or think about school. But also lean into social work when it helps. Studying with a friend can keep you motivated and accountable, but just remember, it's not a substitution for real downtime. You need to have both. And finally, carve time out for social, deep work. The kind where you really lock in and get stuff done. Don't treat it as your only real work. A healthy study routine includes all three types: solo focus, collaborative work, and real rest. And if you find yourself getting stuck in one mode for too long, always working, always socializing, or always alone, use that as a signal. Try to rethink. Maybe it's time to mix it up. Add a bit more candy or a bit more house. So earlier in this episode we talked a lot about the importance of social life, why it matters and how it helps us to stay human, how it is good to balance it with academic side of things. But now I want to talk about something that hits a little bit closer to home for a lot of people than we might actually realize. Well, people get categorized into extroverts or introverts, and I think it's a flawed decision, but what happens when socializing itself becomes the thing that burns you out? Because yeah, just like you can overwork yourself with essays and deadlines, you can also overdo it socially. Let's go back to that whole candy and house thing from earlier, where students get all of this new free time and don't know how to manage it. Some go full candy mode, constantly surrounded by people, always doing something, never really pausing to check in with themselves, as a distraction. This could be anxiety from university or other emotional problems, and even though it looks fun from the outside, this can quietly but quickly drain the life out of you. It's like having a sugar crash but keep on eating candy because you don't want to feel guilty that you didn't buy the house. It's like occupying your head so much that you don't have time to think about your problems. The difficult thing is that this happens over time, when you keep going and going and going without recharging your social battery. You can be completely socially burned out and still feel guilty for saying no. So let's make a little checklist. These are subtle signs you need to watch out for. If you keep agreeing to plans and then secretly hoping that they get cancelled the day before or the morning before. When you're physically present but mentally zoning out at hangouts. If you feel like your fun time or seeing your friends is a chore. Or maybe you're just overstimulated and even answering a message feels like too much. And when that happens, it will easily start spiraling into, it should be more fun. I should be more grateful. I don't want to be the boring one. I don't always want to say no. And that word, should, becomes a little monster that starts bullying you into going and going and going and going and burning out. Okay, so what do you do when your brain is like, oh please, let me have one evening where I just stare at my ceiling and do nothing? You set boundaries. And I know, before you rolled your eyes, I don't mean turning into a cold and distant old hermit. I mean learning to say no, softly but clearly. Here are a few lines. You could say, oh, I'd love to, but I'm really wiped out for today. Can we do this another time? Or, that sounds super fun, I'm just taking tonight for myself. Or saying, yes, but I might only stay for an hour. I've got an early morning, I need to go early. Or say, I'm sorry, I'm very busy. I will sit this one out, but the next one you will see me again. It's not about rejecting people. It's about making space for yourself so you can actually enjoy being around others when you do say yes. I will also add that you do sometimes need to say yes, as to not become said hermit. Now if you're like me and you tend to pack your calendar like it's a Jenga tower, here's the trick. Start scheduling non-social time in a way you would schedule your classes or social time. Seriously, put into your calendar, even color code it if you need to. Friday evening, nothing. Sunday morning, phone off and walk. Maybe even podcast. My podcast. Wednesday, no plans after 8 PM, even if someone texts me. It sounds rigid, but trust me, future you will be very grateful. You can fill in one of those blocks we previously mentioned and make some me time. Another very important reminder is that just because you're invited doesn't mean you owe anyone a yes. Not every invite is a moral test. Not every plan is an opportunity you'll never get again. Try to put away your fear of missing out. You're allowed to protect your energy in the same way you protect your school. Friends, especially the good ones in university, should understand that you can show up and be amazingly energetic every single time you guys meet up. And this is the weird part. The more you learn to communicate your limits, the better your friendships usually get. You show up more present, you laugh more fully, you listen better, and your friends start to respect your time because you respect it first. So if you feel like you've been stretched too thin, maybe this is your sign to step back a bit. Take a night off, recharge, and be boring on purpose. Let yourself miss people. It makes seeing them again much, much sweeter. Alright, that's our little chat on social burnouts, or as I like to call it, when I'm on the sugar crash. So take care of your brain, your boundaries, and your battery percentage, emotional and phone alike. But before we move on, I want to take a few minutes to talk about something I think every student has felt, whether they admit it or not: imposter syndrome. The weird feeling when you're just waiting for someone to tap on your shoulder and say, "Hey, we made a mistake, you're not supposed to be here." It's that sense that everybody else around you is confident and capable and coasting through uni life, while you're sitting there wondering how you even got accepted in the first place. And it doesn't just hit when you're failing or struggling, it shows up even when things are going okay, sometimes especially when things are going okay. So, let me give you an example. When I was attending the course Immunology, I was actually interested. I liked the topic and I held up my work for the course. I felt like I knew what I was doing, but when the professor started asking questions, my mind went blank. And I felt like I was just pretending to know the answer, instead of really thinking. The problem with this imposter syndrome feeling is that uni also unknowingly enforces it. I have to do redo courses, which means that I'm not fully in my second year, I'm somewhere in between. And this only makes the feeling of I'm not supposed to be here even stronger, because in some parts I am literally not supposed to be there, and in other parts I feel like I'm not supposed to be there. Now here's the truth. Most of the time, everyone else is feeling the exact same way. They're just hiding it, or they've had more practice pretending to know what they're doing. Feeling like you don't belong does not mean you're not good enough. It usually just means like you're growing. You're going out of your comfort zone and you're surrounded by people who are also trying to figure it all out. Imposter syndrome doesn't go away by getting a perfect grade or impressing your prof. It fades when you start building confidence from your own efforts. The confidence that comes from saying, yeah, I struggled with this topic, but I asked for help. I took notes. I did what I could, and that's enough for today. So here's a little mindset shift that helped me. You don't need to prove that you belong, because you already do. Your goal is to learn. It's a little bit the same like you only make it awkward by acting awkward. If you act like you know what you're doing, eventually you will feel more confident and thus know what you're doing. And if your brain still whispers, I'm not smart enough, just remember, universities don't hand out degrees for knowing everything. You are there to learn and to show that you know what you do, but you don't need to do everything from the beginning. Universities hand out degrees if you show up consistently, if you do your best over time, and if you're willing to improve, not if you do it perfectly. So if you've been feeling like you're faking it, you're not. You're figuring it out, and that is the real job. So yeah, let's all give ourselves a little more credit. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present. And sometimes showing up is the bravest thing you can do. Before we end today's episode, I just want to say something. When I was scrolling through my memes, I saw a picture of this pilot who was reading a manual while flying, and the title of the manual was How to Fly an Airplane. And I found it really funny because a lot of uni feels like we are that pilot trying to figure out how to fly in a plane mid-flight. Anyway, thanks again for joining me on the episode of Ctrl+Alt+Degree, where we take it one metaphor at a time. If anything in this episode hits close to home, if you're trying to figure out how to juggle friends, study and self-care, you're not alone. We'll figure it out as we go. If you've got a story, a question, or just want to say hi, then you can always shoot me a message or leave a comment. And if you think someone else could use a reminder that they're allowed to take breaks and still be a great student, send this their way. Until next time, take care of yourself, because in the end, we're all on the same team and we're all trying to figure things out while our plane is already flying.